皆さんこんにちは。今回は YouTube チャンネルメインイベントによるサム・グッドマン選手へのインタビューを翻訳しました。メインイベントはオーストラリアのペーパービュー配信サイトです。インタビュアーを務めたのはベン・デーモン氏で、彼はスポーツジャーナリスト、テレビ司会者、そしてボクシング解説者として活躍しています。また、グッドマン選手が出場するイベントでも司会を務めています。さて、今回のインタビューでグッドマン選手からどのような話が引き出されるのでしょうか。それでは始めましょう。
On main event television on Christmas Eve, Australia's own Aussie battler Sam Goodman will fight against the monster Naoya Inoue in Tokyo for all of the belts in the super bantamweight division. Before all that, though, Sam's going to have a chat with me about exactly what is ahead of him. Sam, how do you feel now that you've got to this point and you're staring at the biggest opportunity of your boxing life?
Look, it's been a lot of work to get here, but there's still plenty left to do. So I'm not getting ahead of myself. I'm just, at the moment, taking it one day at a time, a training session at a time, and put myself in the best possible shape and the best possible position to go ahead and shock the world.
Do you think people fully appreciate the work that's gone in, the years that have gone in, everything you've had to go through to get yourself to this point, to be fighting for the Undisputed world title?
Probably not, but that's why no one else is really here. So, look, I know the work that's went into this, and my team know the work that's went into this, and for the people that want to, knock it or whatever, it's I'm not too phased. I've had this goal since I was a young kid, and to do it against a guy that's pound for pound one of the best, what a way to cap it off.
Well, the boxing world knows who Naoya Inoue is. He's a superstar in Japan. He's on billboards, and he sort of exists on a different plane of stardom to a lot of athletes around the world. But who's Sam Goodman?
Just the knockabout from Albion Park. Come from a small town, good family, and yeah, just one of the boys really. So knocking about, having a bet with the boys, and yeah.
You can see that contrast though, can't you, between where he appears to be and who you are. Do you lean into the romanticism of that, the fairy tale that could be, and coming from here to there?
It's two polar opposites, definitely. And look, it wasn't too long ago I was pouring beers at the Steelers Club, and
アルビオンパークは人口約1万3000人ほどの町です。そこで生まれ育ったグッドマン選手は自身の主戦場であるウィーンエンターテイメントセンターが位置するウロンゴンのスポーツバー、スティーラーズクラブで働いていました。スティーラーズクラブの SNS アカウントにはグッドマン選手に関する投稿がいくつか見られます。グッドマン選手は少なくとも18歳の頃からこのクラブで働いていたのではないかと考えられます。また、クラブは彼のアマチュア時代から彼をサポートしてきました。今年3月にもグッドマン選手に関する投稿がされており、彼とスティーラーズクラブとの関係は現在も続いていると思われます。
Stuff like that. So it's, like I said, I come from a small town, and, I'm going over to Tokyo and ready to shock the world.
Can you quite believe it when you put it like that, when you think about that you were pulling beers at Steelers and hanging around with some of your mates around Albion Park, that now you're fighting for all of the belts against one of the global superstars of the sport?
Oh, I can, because that's what I told people I would be doing from a young age. A lot of people would have called me delusional, had school teachers saying, yeah, you need a real job or whatever, all that sort of stuff. But I told them I'd make this work, and, I'd make this my life, and that's what I've set out to do, and that's what I'm doing.
Did you butt heads with the careers counsellor, did you, at school, and others? Did they not see the path that you saw?
Yeah, there was a few people, even in my family, that's, you need a job, or you need a plan B. There's never been a plan B. It's always been this and nothing else.
Do you think people are overlooking you? Do you think people have given up on there being a threat to Inoue at this weight?
Mate, I don't know about him and his team, but like the people that run everything behind the show, like his promoters and that, they're definitely overlooking me. So you're seeing all the stuff that's coming out about, they're planning, not just his next fight, but his next 3 and stuff like that. Look, he could be locked in with another couple with me. So no one has seen the best of me yet, and I just focus on what I need to be doing, and, that's just showing up every day, and I know if I bring my best, I'll beat this guy.
You're following in a path of one of the greatest moments in the history of Australian sport. Fighting Harada, a Japanese superstar, and our own Lionel Rose went over there as a virtual unknown, given very little chance, and won that legendary fight, maybe the greatest performance in the history of Australian boxing.
ファイティング原田氏は元 WBA 世界フライ級王者であり、WBC と WBA の世界バンタム級統一王者でもあります。 1995年には国際ボクシング名誉の殿堂入りを果たし、2002年にはリング誌が選出した過去80年間で最も偉大なボクサー80名のランキングで32位に位置づけられました。ライオネル・ローズ氏は日本武道館で原田氏と激突し、判定勝ちを収めて WBC と WBA のバンタム級統一王者となりました。この勝利により、ローズ氏はあらゆるスポーツの世界選手権で勝利した初のアボリジニ出身のアスリートとなり、また世界タイトルを獲得した2人目のオーストラリア人となりました。
Do you think about what's happened there? What goes before you ahead of a moment like this?
Yeah, it just goes to show that history does repeat itself, and draw inspiration from all guys like that who have been written off, given no chance, and they've went over there and they go ahead and execute, and like even going back to the days of Ali Foreman's, and then but you've had Jeff Horn and Pacquiao in Australia, you've had George and Teofimo. Like you can't not draw inspiration from guys like that who have been there and had their backs against the wall and have went out and done it.
When Lionel came back, 250,000 people were there to greet him, whereas he'd gone over as a virtual unknown. It can be life-changing a moment like this.
100%. And I know winning this fight, it will change everything for me. And look, it's something I'm excited for, and something I've worked for since I've been 10 years old, since I got involved in this sport. So it's I've dreamt of moments like this, and I'm ready to go and take this opportunity with both hands and make it happen.
All right, we're going to have a look at some specific moments, some highlights in the big screen behind us. I think one that it's important to start with is Inoue against Luis Neri. You were ringside for this fight in Tokyo at the Tokyo Dome. An incredible atmosphere and an amazing night, really. What did you make of, firstly, that occasion being there and seeing how big a deal he is and how big a deal boxing is in Japan?
Yeah, it's crazy. Even the reception like they give the boxers over in Tokyo, it was a bit of a shock. But yeah, he's a superstar over there, no doubt.
Speaking of shocks, he went down and pretty hard really in the first rounds of that fight against Neri. There was a gasp. They were pretty quiet at the best of times. But what did you feel at that moment? Because you wanted to fight him for all of these belts, and suddenly he's on the canvas.
Well, yeah, you start thinking, it could all be going sideways very, very, very quickly. Like I said, any given day, someone could be hurt, they could be beat. So he's human, he showed that he can go down, he can be hurt like anyone else.
Is that the big takeout, that he is human, that he can be hit and he can be hurt? Is that what you saw there, or is it a technique thing, or is there something about how he starts his fights now, or is he getting older, or what do you take out?
No, to be honest, I've never built anyone up to think they're not human, Like some people are very good at what they do, and that's what he is, but people like to build these guys up and, they're superstars and stuff, but they're not unbeatable, Michael Jordan got beat on his way to winning all those championships. Guys like that, like I said, Muhammad Ali, he lost fights, It happens. It's sport. It's high-level sport, and, anyone can be beaten.
We're seeing some of the highlights of Inoue across time and some of the power punching, which he's become renowned for. How do you prepare yourself for a puncher like that? Is it just about staying away from it, or do you have to acclimatise to what's ahead?
There's going to be times where you're going to have to bite down and fight fire with fire. I know that, but look, I've got to be smart as well. I know he can punch, but I'm working with very, very, very big punches as well in the gym all the time, and so that's what's preparing me to go against this guy. I'm constantly faced with it in the gym every day.
As we look through these highlights, there's different opponents for Inoue that had very different mentalities going into these fights. Some clearly were not there to win. Some were there to try and survive. Some did. Many did not. How do you convince people before this fight that you are there to win? And do you feel there's any doubt that that's what you're about in this fight? Do you think maybe there are sections of the boxing world who think you're a survivor in there?
They're going to see on December 24th that I'm not in there to go and, just get through a few rounds or whatever. I'm going in there to win and to beat this guy, and I'm going there to change my life, to win all the belts, and, this changes my life, changes the trajectory of everything, and, yeah, I'm ready to do it.
Tell us more about that mentality, what you are taking into the ring with you, because you've seen it in opponents, you've seen it in boxing throughout your professional and amateur boxing life. Sometimes people go in there with their head in a different place. Where is your head for this fight, and why is it in the right place?
I've set out these goals since I got into this sport, was to be a world champion, and this is an opportunity of a lifetime. I don't see it as something to be scared of or shy away. I'm not going over to Tokyo. I'm not going all the way over there for all the mad bunch coming to watch me and stuff and going and shitting myself. I'm going over there and I'm going to take all the belts off him.
Is he ready for the Mad Bunch, do you think? Because we've made a lot of your travelling supporters. There's a bunch of them going to Tokyo for this fight. It's going to be a very different experience for them to the Wynn Entertainment Centre.
But you might be able to hear him still because the rest of the crowd's pretty quiet in between rounds, and it's very humbling to have that kind of support. I always say, to have those travelling fans, especially over Christmas time, it's awesome. So, but it's going to be a bit of a different experience. I think they're going to be a bit shocked by, how the fight nights run compared to over here.
It is very different and it's very quiet. Are you ready for that, for such a different atmosphere? Did you get a chance to speak to Jason Maloney, who you've done some sparring with, who's had a number of fights in Japan now?
ジェイソン・モロニー選手が日本で試合をしたのは、2024年5月に行われた武井良樹選手との試合のみです。ただし、モロニー選手はこれまでに井上尚弥選手と河野康平氏を含む3人の日本人選手と対戦した経験があるため、勘違いしたのかもしれません。
Or anyone else about what it is like being out there in front of a major crowd, but with very little noise.
You spar in front of very little noise a lot of the time. I'm not listening to the noise when it is kicking off anyway, so I'm listening to the people in my corner and just trying to listen to that advice, not everyone else in the crowd. So it's all about the job at hand and executing.
We talked about that Lewis Neri fight where we were ringside, and after that fight you weren't ringside, you were in the ring, calling out.
この時、井上選手がグッドマン選手を呼んでいたんですね。私はいつも試合が終わると、すぐに画面を閉じるか、スマホを触りながら音声だけを聞いていることが多く、この場面を見ていませんでした。グッドマン選手が大橋会長に招かれてリングに上がったのだと思っていました。
In a way, what was that experience like for you? I know it was a bit of a shock that it all happened, but just take us through all of that, because people still believe it was all orchestrated by the promoters, but it clearly was not.
No, it was we were playing musical chairs there for a while, trying to get to the front row, and we just started yelling out at him. He's called us in the ring, so it was crazy. Like, we were joking around before we were actually going to the event, saying, "Oh, we're going to end up in the ring," and it ended up happening. So look, it was pretty funny how it all came about.
Let's have a look at exactly what did transpire in that ring after Naoya Inoue's big victory, and Sam Goodman was in there.
Look, I've been mandatory for over a year. Either give up the belts or fight me. Let's get it on.
Perfect wording, though. You were prepared clearly to tell him what you thought. Give up those belts or let's fight.
Oh, I've been waiting for so long for my shot. You'd struggle to find another person in boxing who's had to take so many fights to keep active. Look, I'm happy. I'm happy that's all happening, but not just satisfied yet. I've got to win that belt, So I've never done this just to get a shot at a world title. I'm here to win them.
Is he a monster? Because that's what he's known as, and he clearly scares a lot of people. But do you consider him to be a monster, or is he just another boxer?
No, he's a good fighter, but he is a good fighter. I'm not going to say it, but I don't go in there and I'm saying I'm seeing a monster or whatever like that. Like, no way. I'm seeing another guy that I'm going to go in there and beat.
After that confrontation in the ring, I think the boxing world assumed that you were next, that you were going to be fighting against Inoue next, but didn't play out that way. You had another fight here in Australia. He had another fight. You got hammered by reporters around the world on social media for essentially dogging it, for not taking a fight against him. Can you just explain and clarify what happened there? Because people are very adamant in their opinion as to what happened, but clearly you have a different opinion.
We already had a fight booked in Australia before we went over there, so it was purely like a scouting mission, go and see what the opposition was like. We had a fight already booked in Wollongong, and that's all it was. So to all the people who said I was dogging it, well, here I am now. So
I know members of your team were pretty unhappy about a lot of the reporting and a lot of the coverage around what did happen there. Did you get upset about that? Because to be accused of essentially running away is not cool, really, in boxing.
Yeah, I know who I am. I know what I'm about. So, and like I said, I don't read what reporters are writing. Half of them never boxed and never had a fight in their lives anyway. So, look, they can have their opinion, say what they want to say, but like I said, I'm here. I'm ready to fight on December 24th, and yeah, let's go.
Is there any fuel in all of that for you, in the social media comments and the reporting around that and around what's going to happen in this fight? Do you embrace any of that? Footy players put headlines on walls and those sorts of things. Is there any of that for you?
No, they don't live in my head. They don't live in my head. They don't get to me. This has been a goal since I've been 10 years old. So, yeah, guys like that, they don't motivate me. It's just nice to stick one up them at the end of the day when I go and do it.
This is your most recent fight against Rockman Chano Warrawut. He was tough. Was that a tougher fight than you expected?
Yeah, it was real tough, you know. Like from round 4, the hand was compromised, and it was one that you sort of just found yourself going, I've got to get through this, you know. It was a tricky one. He'd done a lot of things that were very, very awkward too, and stuff that I probably didn't see in tape of him. So it was a different fight. It was one that, you know, probably, you know, was a bit subpar as well for myself. So, look, there was plenty going on in that fight that people didn't know during the fight that was going on, like I said, with the hand, and just having to manage my way through the fight and go and find a way to win.
Were you looking ahead to this big fight as well? Was there one eye off in the distance?
No. I tried the whole time. Every question was about this fight and me risking it all, but it was, you know, one step at a time. I knew if I didn't get through that everything that I've worked so hard for is gone. So that was probably the only thing in the back of my mind, that can't slip up. It's just gone. I've just got to get through it.
When you look back on that fight, was it good preparation for Inoue? Was that the sort of fight that you needed ahead of a fight like this?
Well, it was tough. He asked questions of me, and I knew I could do it one-handed as well after breaking my hand. So it was good preparation. I came through some adversity and, like I said, got through it. Another test passed. How
is your hand now? Because you've had a bit of time. Is it 100% better? Any problems ahead of Christmas Eve?
Nah, absolutely not. So it is 100% now. So my hand is perfect. We're doing long rounds in sparring already, plenty of sparring, and, you know, I gave it the rest it needed after that fight and done all the recovery and physio that I had to do with it. And yeah, it's, you know, the specialists are more than happy, and I've been working pretty hard with it for a while now. So no, it's in good shape.
And talk to us about your preparation, because you've been travelling the country, sparring against some of the best that we have in this country, some with international experience. Liam Wilson, Jason and Andrew Maloney among
モロニー兄弟、特に兄のジェイソン・モロニー選手は井上尚弥選手との対戦経験があり、日本でもよく知られています。ジェイソン選手は近年の日本ボクシング界の盛り上がりを受け、日本でのビッグマッチを望んでいると、ボクシングシーンによるインタビューで語っていました。しかし、ジェイソン選手は武井良樹選手に敗れて以来、次の試合の情報はまだ出ていません。一方、弟のアンドリュー・モロニー選手はペドロ・ゲバラ選手に敗北後、引退を示唆していましたが、12月15日に試合を予定しています。ジェイソン選手はバンタム級、アンドリュー選手はスーパーフライ級で活躍しており、今後の日本人選手との対戦にも期待したいですね。リアム・ウィルソン選手は現在14勝3敗、8KO の戦績を持つスーパーフェザー級の選手です。井上選手のパンチ力に備えるために、彼とスパーリングをしたのでしょう。この3敗はオスカー・バルデス選手、エマヌエル・ナバレッテ選手、そしてジョー・ノイナイ選手によるものです。ノイナイ選手は過去に佐々木仁選手、小川健一選手、清水聡選手と対戦した経験があります。現在、ウィルソン選手は同国出身の元世界王者、ジョージカン・ボソスジュニア選手との対戦を望んでおり、オーストラリアの有力選手の一人として注目されています。
Others, tell us about what you've been doing and where you're at.
Just put myself through the trenches, so day in, day out, like when they're grinding. So working with the best guys in the country, I'm really pushing it on this one as hard as I can go.
They're names that people know as well. People would be fascinated to know how sparring between Sam Goodman and Liam Wilson went. What was that experience like? How'd you go in there?
It's a fight. It's great, you know. So I love it. So it was real good rounds and real good work, and that's why we're working with him. You know straight away that when you go in with guys like Liam, it's on. It's a proper scrap. So it's good.
Did he try and put it on you a bit? Or?
We both did. It was unreal. So it was a good round. So yeah, I'll be doing plenty more of it.
And Jason Maloney clearly has fought against Inoue before. Did you have a chat with him as well as the rounds, or did he try and show you anything in sparring that you might need?
No, not really. Like, we spoke about Japan a little bit, and not a whole heap about the fight. But yeah, it was purely going there for real good work, and it was wasn't much, sharing of experiences or anything like that.
Well, you've got plenty you could call on for that sort of thing. TJ, I'm sure, would take a call about what it was like to fight Inoue in his most recent fight. Jason would be more than happy to divulge how he went in that experience. Would you not try and lean on them to any extent to try and find some inside information as to what it is like to share the ring with this guy?
If they've got any advice, you're going to listen, and whether you take it on board or not, it depends on what the sort of advice is. But it's not something I'm going out there seeking and wondering if there's any secrets to how I'm going to beat this guy. Like I said before, I'll back what I can do, and I've done that in every fight. I know there's no magic out there or no secret source to anything. I know that it's hard work and putting in the work every day, and that's what I'm doing, and I'm putting in that work to go ahead and be undisputed world champion.
Do you think there's something in attitude ahead of a fight like this? Do you need to truly believe that you're going to win this fight in order to be able to do so? Because plenty of people go into these sorts of fights and don't believe. Is that an important part of this?
100%. If you don't believe, why are you showing up? And that's the mentality I've always had. So, look, it's not going to change when I get the biggest opportunity of my life. And if I didn't think I could do this, I wouldn't do it. I truly believe in my heart of hearts that I'm going to go in there and I'm going to shock the world.
We talked about the contrast between the two of you. He's the superstar, the monster. You're previously pulling beers at Steelers across the road from Wynn Entertainment Centre. Do you think about that? He's up here and you're shooting for the stars. Does that fairy tale lend itself to your attitude in this fight?
I don't want to look back that far, I don't want to be going back and pouring beers by no means. So, look, I've got to win this fight. Like I said, this changes my life, so it changes everything. So I've got to go in there and I believe I'm going to win, and I'm going to go ahead and do it.
It's what's going to invest Australians in this fight, though, isn't it? The romance around your story and his story and the underdog mentality. Do you think that people, once they think about that story, are really going to lean into you and invest in you in this fight and get excited about what's happening on Christmas Eve?
Yeah, maybe. And that's it, it just goes to show you it can change like that. So you keep working hard, you put in the work, and you can end up getting these big opportunities, and you get a chance to change your life. And that's what I've done. I've worked hard. I've kept winning fights and put myself in this position, and I'm ready. I'm ready to do it.
What do you usually do on Christmas Eve?
Depends.
Depends. Outside of training camp.
Outside of training camp, probably eat good food and spend it with family. So it's that's usually what's going on Chrissy Eve. But it's a bit of a different one this time. I'll eat some good food Christmas Day and toast a few drinks with everyone who's came over to Japan with all the belts.
What do the Mad Bunch usually do on Christmas Eve?
Oh, not sleeping, trying to chase Santa Claus. That's about it. So, out there running a market, I'm sure they'll be turning Tokyo upside down.
Are they going to be all right in Tokyo, do you think? It's a very different atmosphere, as you know, but pretty relaxed security-wise. You were able to get into the front row without being invited, for example. But how are they going to go, do you think?
They're not right in Australia, so it's Tokyo's going to be anything. Let them do what they want. I've warned them, it's a different country and this and that. But, look, they never really take my advice on board when it comes to, how they get about. So I don't think it'll be any different in Tokyo.
You've been very disciplined in recent times. You haven't had a drink. I know you've been very focused on this opportunity for a very long time. What's that looked like for you, a different lifestyle, a very thorough training regime?
Look, I always train very well and year round, but it's, from my diet to, after the fights I haven't had a drink or whatever. So everything's been geared from, the start of this year to winning this fight and to getting this opportunity and making the most of it. I'm not going to be able to look at anything and say I could have done more. So I'm ready to win this fight. Clearly,
it's the job of promoters and television channels to promote this fight, to sell this fight, to tell people why they should watch. But you, as someone involved in it, why should people invest in this? Why should people change their Christmas Eve plans, watch this fight and cheer you home against this Japanese star? Because you're going to watch a young Australian kid go in there and shock the world and, turn everyone's plans in boxing upside down and, raise those belts and bring them back home to Australia. And that's my plan. It's always been my plan and, I get to do it on Christmas Eve. What's that going to feel like, being a world champion? Something you've thought about, I'd imagine, ever since you put on boxing gloves for the first time and knew this was something you were good at. Just place yourself in that ring in Tokyo with those belts being draped all over you and the Mad Bunch going crazy and your team losing their minds at centering?
It's a bit of a mission accomplished, you know, so I'm sure there'll be plenty more to do after it, but it's, you know, like you said, since I first put on those gloves, it's been the goal. That's been, you know, everything in my life has been second to this, and it's it's something that I have thought about. I've pictured it, I've seen it so clearly, and I'm getting so close, and I know it's a big job to do, and you know, I'm just putting myself through hell at the moment to go ahead and do it.
Where do you think your mind goes in that moment? Is it just about what's occurred, or is there something in particular? Is there a moment in the past or a person?
Oh, I don't really know. It's something I've just got that picture in my head, just clear of all the belts, and I'm sure there'll be a bunch of emotions that go through once I do finally do it. But it's, look, like I said, there was a lot of work I'm putting in that I know that's got to go in before that happens. But it's going to happen. I've got that picture in my head so clearly, and you know, I'm ready to go shock the world.
And will there be a message for the doubters, do you think, after the fight, or are you just going to revel in your glory?
Bit of both. So I'm sure I'll be able to tell a lot of people I told you so, but definitely it's going to be, you know, reveling in the glory with me and my team.
Well, Sam, the very best of luck to you in Tokyo. We'll all be watching, and I'm sure Australia would love to see another incredible upset and another major sporting moment for this country.
Cheers, Ben. Thanks to you.
That is Sam Goodman. He'll fight against the Monster on Christmas Eve. You can see it all on Main Event. I'm Ben Damon. I'll see you at the fights.
Wins 8 by way of knockout. Introducing Sam